Hello everyone, this is Douglas Macbeth and a formal welcome to this first week of the MOOC, and this is my review of the first week's programme. I guess you know by now that it's kind of hard work. There's a lot going on in this MOOC and I hope you're enjoying it enough at least to keep going till the end. We like to think that we're challenging lots of us to think things a little bit afresh. Some of you coming to this fairly new in your careers, some with long experience, and that's one of the beauties of this kind of course, that we get to share that kind of enthusiasm, insight, and eagerness to learn. So please, for those of you who are participating and asking questions or making comments, please keep them going. They're really interesting. I'm going to pick up on a few of the ones that our team have spotted that make sense for me to respond to at this time. Like some of you, I'm still trying to access the panel discussions, but I'm sure our team is working on making that available to us all. So I can't say anything about that this time. I was travelling this week and missed the real-time connection. Anyway, we'll look forward to seeing that one and the next one. These are usually exercises in bringing you really up to speed with what's going on in this commercial and contract world. So at some levels, they're targeted at the more experienced participants, but for the new people, it's useful also to think through how far this topic can go, the size of the discussions and the strategies that need to be thought about. And so often these panel discussions are really good from that point of view. So hope you enjoy them as well. So some things to highlight from the comments. Somewhat related comments from Lisago Molozzi and Gary Cunningham, wondering and worried about the fact that when things change during the life of a contract, what do you do then? And maybe that's another of the things that's worth thinking about, and why, in a sense, the legal profession tries so hard to anticipate everything that goes wrong, that could go wrong, and try and cover their clients for these eventualities. But the reality is most contracts are to some extent imperfect, in as much as no one can foresee the future, so that when you try and do that, you'll be very lucky indeed to see all of the possibilities. So in that sense, we cannot start with perfect knowledge, and therefore we cannot write a perfect contract. So the key for me is don't make it too rigid. Get the basic principles, but above all else, the values that are being looked at and committed to on both sides of the relationship. Get those very clear and firm, but make it possible to have reviews, discussions, mutually acceptable changes on the way through. And therefore, you then have to manage that carefully. That also leads into another kind of related area, because Dermot Yule has very usefully highlighted a BBC programme about the big failure in the UK for one of the government's major outsourcing contractors, Karelian, and the implications of this failure have been felt very seriously by some people, but the implications will roll on for a while yet. Dermot's request was that we would come to this as part of our discussion in this course, but you may well understand that courses like these take some time to set up. We hope that they can run and provide value for a number of years before they get revisited and upgraded. So the answer to Dermot's short question is, we can't do anything formally in the middle of the MOOC to deal with that. But for me, it does highlight one of the big messages, which is that people, governments in this case, who decide to outsource some activity have to realize that the risk is never really outsourced. When the contract or the contractor fails, then in this case, our government still has to build the hospitals and the schools and the infrastructure and all the other hundreds of contracts this company had. So it reinforces for me the fact that it doesn't matter that you outsource the work. You have to manage it. The outsourcing provider will be doing a lot of internal managing. So in a sense, you're managing the management process, but you should also have oversight. You should be able to see what's happening. You should be able to see the warning signs when they come. And for me, this is another exercise where somebody believed that the risk was better placed with the outside contractor who was able to manage that risk. And the reality is it didn't happen. The risk is still there, and our government is now spending fortunes to recover from this risk event. So, good and bad stories in contracts, as always. Some other interesting point that's come out, a bit of a discussion about, initially from Lorna F., reacted to by Judith Marriott, about exercises to try and embed the thinking process at the beginning of contracts. And I think this is useful. Judith's point was that in some sectors, exercises like this to try and build understanding and relationships in anticipation of a contract award and contract management process would be seen as a waste of time and money. Our experience from not just academically but in consulting terms as well has been that this is certainly not the case. Like most other get prepared for the discussion processes, then building understanding and relationships up front allow a consideration of these values, principles that are going to be embedded into the contract and the contract management process, both sides of the management process, of course. So it gives me an excuse to promote a little bit of activity that I've been involved with recently. And this book takes a wider view than some aspects in this MOOC. But the point is that in that book we discuss a management game that we've used academically. I've used for maybe 20 years now, and we've used commercially in the consultancy company I used to be part of. And this is an exercise which is explained in there, and there's extra tutors' guides available for those of you who are in that role. But the power of getting people to understand, by whatever means you do, game or whatever, what it means to actually be part of a relationship, a business relationship, which requires commitments and obligations and fulfillment of those obligations on both sides. And to challenge some of the traditional thinking that says the contract is written and then we fight each other afterwards about what it means. Better, as I said at the beginning, to try and get that understood from the start and then work together to really make it happen. What the world would have been like for Karelian and its thousands of employees and many, many subcontractors and suppliers if some of that work had gone in at the beginning. Who can tell? I believe it wouldn't have happened anything like to the same extent, but then I'm biased. I think this area of contract management, business to business relationships, is hugely important. and I hope you'll enjoy being exposed to some of these ideas and discussions. So busy week next week coming up, more interesting stuff. We're looking at more issues about connectivity, different elements of which we've kind of hinted at in week one. There's also a new stakeholder exercise, peer reviewed, so I hope you find that interesting as a process and as a learning medium. So thanks very much so far. If you're enjoying it, make sure you tell your friends. There's still time for them to join in, and everyone can catch up with things they've missed because the program is still available after the nominal 3 weeks. So thanks again, and I'll talk again next week. Take care. Bye.